I'm here with the wonderful, the amazing, the incredible, the talented, the beautiful, the magnificent Amanda Robbins. Thank you for joining me, my love.
Thank you, my love.
Today, we're talking about the alignment of personal values and organizational values, and personal goals and organizational goals, and how when you can create either alignment or linking between these, it absolutely transforms engagement, innovation, passion, hunger, drive. It absolutely transforms not only how people show up, but how intensely they show up, how passionately they show up. If you have a team and you're like, I wish they would be more innovative, I wish they would be more passionate, I wish they'd be more excited about what we do, generally there's a misalignment in their personal values. So let's call that who they are, and the company itself, or the work they do. So if you think of who they are and what they do, if this isn't a reflection, if what they do is not a deep reflection of who they are, they're not going to have that passion, that drive, that innovation. I've had clients of ours say, I guess people on my team just won't be me. I've had friends in the industry. Gary says this. He's like, hey, don't expect your people to work as hard as you do. It's not their company. There's a little bit of truth there, but there's a big miss. When you understand human motivation and human drivers, which we teach in Performance Coach University, if you're a leader, a manager, or a company owner, you definitely want to take this course, because once you understand human drivers, why people do what they do, then you understand, by creating a bridge between who they are and what they do, if you can create the linkage or create the alignment there, you will see their motivation, inspiration, determination, hunger, drive, passion, all those things skyrocket immediately, because they will feel that what they are doing is an expression of who they are and what's most important to them, which is when people most come to life. Love, I would love your thoughts on this, specifically around from a management perspective. So if someone is leading a team or managing a team, from that perspective, you do this really well, meaning you take a lot of time to get to know people on your team, to understand what's important to them, to ask them what they value. And you've also obviously gone through Performance Coach University, so you understand human drivers. You help lead PCU at this point. And so the thought process of, for someone who's a manager who's trying to get their team to better perform, what's a good starting point for them that you might recommend?
So, a great starting point for getting your team inspired, intrinsically inspired to take action and go after your goals without having to constantly be pouring on motivation or trying to motivate them, is simply that linking their highest values to the mission and vision of the company, or to their job roles, responsibilities, and tasks. When we do that, when the thing that we are doing or asked to do aligns with our highest values, we don't need motivation, because we are intrinsically inspired. We will jump out of bed to go after that thing, because it is the fullest expression. It allows us to tap into the fullest expression of ourselves and what's most important to us. And so for a leader, what this looks like is genuinely starting with what's important to them, right? As a leader, so often we think, or it's easy to think like, this is what's important. This is the vision. If you're here, this is what we're doing. But it's one thing to know what the vision and the mission is of the company, but it's quite another to learn the language, like the love language, so to speak, the values of each player on your team, each person in your organization. And when we can learn to speak in their language, to the things that fire them up and fuel them to move and tie them to the vision or the mission, it's a match made in heaven. It's absolutely incredible. And I think the thing that does get in the way is we only tend to focus on what's important to us and expect other people to buy into that. This is what's important. Can't you see it? No, they can't. People frankly just see the life and world through their own filter. And so the best leaders have these coaching skills, or this empathy, this emotional intelligence to be able to understand what is important to my people and how can I help fulfill that. Now, sometimes, like I will say, sometimes that person just isn't a fit and they belong somewhere else. There's a complete values mismatch. But in the event that you can determine what that person's values are and link them to the mission and vision of the organization, you'll see tremendous strides and improvement in their performance. One thing that's important to know on the topic of values is there are two types of values. There are values that are cultural values, right? Cultural values, and then there are our own personal values. So here's how to tell the difference between what are truly your own values versus what are the values that have been kind of like imposed upon you, right? Like from your culture, it could be your family, your community. And so with that, the question, what I would recommend that you do for anyone listening is write down, grab a piece of paper and a pen and write down. I want you to write on one side of the paper. I want you to write something like, I need to, I have to, and then fill in the blank. I need to do what? I have to do what? I have to file this report. I have to write this blog. I have to go to this meeting. I need to, I want, or not, I want to, I have to, I should. Oh, should's a good one. I should do X, right? And then like write down a whole list of everything that comes to your mind when you think of like should, need to, have to. Next, draw a line through the middle of the paper, and on the other side of the paper, or maybe even just below it. I like to put them side by side to really compare. But either way works. So on the other side, now you're going to write a long list of things that are I'd love to, I dream of, I long to. I think I said I desire to. Like things that you really feel like compelled, pulled towards, right? Just like listen to the words. I dream of, I long to, I wish to, I hope to, I'd love to. Versus on this side, I should, I have to, right? And so the difference is on one side, these are the things that these are the list of kind of values that have been imposed upon us. Those are going to require motivation constantly to get focused on doing them, right? And then on the other side of that are things that are our highest values that we feel effortlessly pulled to. Like we would jump out of bed to do that. If time, money, energy, resources were absolutely abundant and we could just do anything, we'd go towards that thing. It takes way less energy or effort. And so what's important here is now sometimes we want to transfer them. So say, for example, one way for me, I remember early in my marketing days writing some blog posts, and the phrase was, I have to write a blog post. That doesn't sound very exciting, does it? And then what changed was the idea of like, well, what is that blog post? So even if it's something that's like, okay, I have to because this is what the company says is important. What is it about that blog post?
Oh, I think she froze. 1 second. Still frozen. Oh no. Hopefully she will be right back. We will give her a second to log off and log back in. She's still frozen. I think she was saying, what is it about that blog post that you really love? What is it about that blog post? There she is. I'll pass
Oh
the
my
mic
gosh,
right
I
back.
just froze. I saw the froze face and it was so funky. So now say, for example, there are roles or tasks that your team or your employees have to do, but they don't see the tie with their values. What you would do is associate them with their values. So for me, writing a blog post, I didn't really value whether it was writing or it was being behind the scenes of like working on WordPress or typing on a keyboard, whatever that was. But as soon as you tap into the employer, your team, or your colleagues' highest values, for me, it was I would love to help people. I dream of making an impact in the world. I want to change people's lives. Like those things. Now you associate how that blog post helps do that thing that they actually truly value. And now that blog post has so much more meaning and purpose. Now that blog post doesn't require motivation to do, it actually is something that's pulling me to do it. I can't wait for people to read this. It's going to change their lives, right? Now it's not about typing on a keyboard and WordPress and SEO. It's actually about this channel, this pathway to fulfilling my highest values. So that was kind of a long-winded answer, but as a leader, it starts with getting clear on just, first of all, just caring. Just give a frick about your employees and like care what's important to them. Get in tune with what they value the most. You can learn this over lunches, over meetings, like just genuine conversations of really getting to know the heart and core, like soul of this person. Because that's what it is. They're not just an employee. They're a person. They have a soul and a heart and a family. And they have dreams and visions too. So what are their core values? And then really try to, as best as you possibly can, connect those for them, right? That's not something that we often do naturally. It's something that really helps with facilitation or coaching or great leadership, which is really associate what their highest values are with their job, with their task roles or responsibilities, with the company's mission and vision. And then the employee will find so much more fulfillment in all that they do at work. And you'll see a much more inspired employees show up to work. All right, I'm going to pause there. What about you? What are your thoughts on that?
So there's some great questions coming through. I'm going to scroll back up and start from the top. So we talked about intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. Just to solidify what that is, intrinsic motivation refers to something someone's doing because it's inherently interesting or enjoyable. So write those two words down: interesting or enjoyable. When you're intrinsically motivated, you engage in activity solely for the satisfaction and pleasure it brings you as a person. You do the process because you enjoy the process of it. This type of motivation is driven by internal factors such as personal interest, enjoyment, sense of achievement. If you were to ask someone on your team, what do you love to do? What are you passionate about? What are you excited about? What's most important to you? What brings you to life? When do you feel most alive? Like what really lights that fire in your heart and soul? What you'd hope is whatever role they've taken in your organization, the activities, the behaviors, we call these KPAs, key performance activities, the most important daily activities they need to do are the intrinsic motivated pieces of themselves. They love these things. If they're in marketing, they live to create marketing. If they're in sales, they love connecting with people. Like you want to make sure they're intrinsically motivated to do the things versus if they make a list of what's most important to them or who they are, and it has all these wonderful attributes. And then you ask them, well, can you make a list of the things you do every day? And all the things don't align in any way with who they are, then they might be extrinsically motivated, meaning this involves performing an activity to earn a reward or avoid punishment. Why do you work? So I can earn money. And so, why do you work so hard? So I don't get fired. This is extrinsic. They do not enjoy the process. They are not expressing who they are through their work. This is not a passion of theirs. This is not joy or fulfilling. This is not them expressing their highest self. And then as owners or managers, we're scratching our heads saying, well, why aren't these people innovating? Why aren't they motivated? Why aren't they really showing up and giving it their best every day? Because you have a bunch of people who are extrinsically motivated. The only reason they're here is to either gain a reward or not get punished, period. Yeah. That's it. And so we got to do some work. Does that mean you need to fire them all and replace them? No. We need to do some alignment work, which we just taught about in our Core 4 training today for our Performance Coach University coaches and our Core 4 Challenge members. We just talked about how do you do that alignment work? What questions do you ask? What strategies do you use? How do you create and craft alignment? And then what happens when you do it? And what happens when you do it is people become motivated, passionate, determined, fulfilled, excited, innovative, creative. I mean, and I told this story where I remember we were at a FBO, which is a private airport where jets take off, and we were sharing a jet with a group of people. And I went to the bathroom and was done washing my hands. And this other guy came in and he was washing his hands. And he said, I think we're sharing a plane. I said, I think we are as well. And he says, well, what do you do? And I was like, this is an awkward place to have the conversation. But I said, I'm a performance coach. And he smiled and he said, what a unique way to connect with the divine. I'd never heard anyone say that. What a unique way to connect with the divine. What does it even mean? And I didn't want to be rude, so I looked at him. I'm like, oh, what do you do? And he said, oh, I'm a plastic surgeon. But I've been considering becoming a coach myself. I'm always impressed when you hear someone who has their medical degree, who's been practicing, it turns out he's one of the best in the world at what he does, and he wants to come become a coach. I'm like, good move. The world needs more great coaches. I said, we actually have a training for that. It's called Performance Coach University. You can go to performancecoachuniversity.com/apply, fill out the application. We'll see if you're a good fit and we can help you. But I asked him, what intrigues you about becoming a coach? And he said, I think it's such a unique way to connect with the divine. And I said, what does that mean? I remember I spent the next 2.5 hours on the flight from South Florida up to New York City journaling, trying to figure out what that meant to me. What is a unique way to connect with the divine? Your work, a job is the unique way to connect with the divine? Huh. And then I asked a different question. I said, how would I show up differently if I believed my work was my way to connect with the divine in my life? How would I think about it? How would I go about it? How would I talk to people if I believed this was an expression between me and the divine? How would I think of clients? How would I treat them? How would I care about them? How would I interact with them if I believed this was my way to connect with the divine? Transform my entire thinking process around who I am and what I do. Some random guy in a bathroom just asked a question or made a statement, actually. What a unique way to connect with the divine. I said, what would I have to believe about what I do for that to be true? How would I have to behave? How would I have to show up? What would I do differently? More of or less of? And so this thought, and then Amanda brought the concept to life. What about personal values versus cultural values? So values we pick up all over the place. Usually the tribe we belong to, the group. If I were to say, what groups do you belong to? What tribes are you a part of? What communities? It may be a religious group, a sports group, a travel group, a mom's group, a dad's group, all kinds of a learning group, a financial investing group. All these groups have some set of values that bring them together. Values are more or less the question of what do groups like this care about. Another way to identify these might be answer the phrase, people like us do things like this, ... Write down all the things people in this group do. That's a reflection of their values. Where do they spend their time? Where do they spend their money? Where do they invest their thoughts and energy? Another question we had, which was, what about at work? If we work with our partner, what values should we show our customers? Well, that's interesting, because what if you worked at a place where you have a set of values, your business partner has a different set of values, and then you come up with these really good sounding company values that are not your values and not their values? That sounds like a complete mess to me. Because now you have what's actually most important to you, what's actually most important to your partner, and then these fluffy corporate statements you've come up with to try to position yourselves to sound like a good idea for other people to do business with. That is a mess. And you probably find a lot of extrinsically motivated people working there. meaning you have to dangle a really big carrot for them to get excited to come to work every day, because it's not an expression of who you are and what's most important to you. And I bet when things get really stressful and hard, a lot of people quit, and you probably have extreme turnover. Hard to keep great talent, or the ones who are there are the ones who are so afraid of not having a job that they'd rather stick it out with you than go do what they really want, which again, you're not going to get the most motivated, determined, passionate, driven human beings in that scenario. And so in that situation, what you might do is understand what is most important to you, what is most important to your partner, and can we make the company a deep reflection of what's most important to us? If you want to find people who have the same level of drive and intensity as you might find people who have similar values, different talents, different skill sets, but similar values. And if you built an organization that stands for those values and you find others who also believe in those values, now that organization is an expression of what you all deeply believe in. That's a different type of organization. It's an intrinsically motivated organization where these people are doing it because it's an expression of who they are. They find joy and passion in the process of expressing those values through their work. So one of our friends asked, in the movie The Miracle Morning, I looked at my values and they didn't understand what the difference between towards values and away from values are. Most organizations, most people only identify their towards values, the things they want more of. But then they have all these toxic traits that exist within the organization or exist within themselves. So towards values are the things you're going to work on creating more of in your organization. Away values are the things we're going to work on creating less of in our organization. And if you update those once a year, they'll update. Here's the things we want to bring more to life within our organization. And here's the things we want to weave out of the organization that somehow snuck in, and we want to weave those back out of the organization. That'd be towards or away. I threw a link in the chat box. If you go to JerrickRobbins.com/human performance programs, it'll take you to my website where it has a list of different programs we have where you can access these types of tools. Either Performance Coach University, Core 4 Challenge, my book, Live It. All these tools are covered in any of those places. Can you please share how to sustain the kind of relationship, because I don't want a divorce in the future with my wife and I'm looking forward to, what characteristics should I notice in a future wife? We'll do a different live on that. We'll do a relationship live and show you how to create alignment for someone if you're going to have a long-term relationship. The term we use is partnership. A lot of people think if you just find love, it'll last forever. It doesn't. Partnership requires both people making a committed decision every day to show up and do the work. And so there's a few things you need in a great partner to have a partnership with throughout your life. And we've been able to learn from some really brilliant people who've studied this for decades that have nailed down what are the key traits of great partnerships that last. Coming back to values, though, I really love what you walked people through. What you walked people through as far as an organization. So intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. I really loved what you shared. The concept of what do I have to do? What should I do versus what do I want to do? What would I love to do? What am I passionate or excited about doing? Those are so insightful. If you would, can you take this for a second? I think I heard our son's little fingers on my door. I'm going to go check on him real quick.
I think we can wrap it up
Okay, we will wrap it up here. Again, if you're interested in this type of material, go to performancecoachuniversity.com/apply and come check out what we do. Other thought I'll share with you. I see a good friend, Glenn Bill, said, I've been married for 34 years. I have a few ideas of what makes it work. That is awesome. One of my favorite comments I get, and I got it 3 times in the last couple months. People who've married for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. They're like, I've been married for 50 years. I know what this is. Jarrick should take notes from me. And usually after every session I do, they'll come back and go, oh, wow. I mean, I definitely know a lot about this, but there are 3 things I've never heard of in my life that I see are critically important. Holy smokes. What else do you know, young man? Is usually the phrase they use on me. So we love to share about relationships. We're currently only 10 years married, 12 years together, but I was studying relationships for 5 years before I met my wife. So we're about 17 years into our study, research, and practice. And there's a lot of stuff uncovered that most people don't know about, which I think is sad. That's why we love to share it. Anyways, have a great day, everyone. I'm going to go check on my son. I heard him at my door, and I'll see you all.